Are the Stanley Cup playoffs the best in pro sports? There's been a lot of debates about this, some going on with ESPN, and a lot of popular creators like to talk about this topic. So I kind of wanted to dive in and give my take on this really heated discussion. So today we're going to talk about the four major sports, okay? So we got baseball with the MLB, basketball and the NBA, the NHL, and hockey and the NFL and football. Now, each can make a case for having an exciting appearance, with the NFL especially being a one-round elimination knockout type of thing where you play a team, if you lose, you're out, if you win, you move on. The MLB, there's a lot of storylines that go along with it, and baseball can go back and forth with its historic context and the way it's played, and the same with basketball, but there's one thing that kind of stands out with the NHL playoffs that the rest don't really seem to have, and that is the unpredictable nature of the sport. Now, when you're watching hockey, it can be the worst team against the best team, and still an upset can happen. Take this year, for example. The Boston Bruins were the greatest team in NHL history, and they get knocked off by a team that just barely made it into the wild card spot. Now, a lot of people will argue that this was because the Panthers were underrated going into the series, but that's what makes it so exciting. A team that could struggle the entire regular season enters the playoffs and knocks out the Cup favorite. Same happened with Seattle versus Colorado. It happens. And to be fair, this does happen in other sports, but just not as frequently. Again, from this year's playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks played the Miami Heat in round 1, and they got knocked off by the 8th seed, similarly to how it happened in the NHL. But this is not just something that you see happen in just the NBA, it happens in other sports. But the NHL, the way that each game feels like the players are ready to give it their all, they go in, they get injured, they battle through severe things. Say, for example, Zdeno Chara one year went through the playoffs with a broken jaw. Patrice Bergeron went through with a broken back. And this stuff happens all the time. A puck will be taken to the face, a stick will be smacked across the face, and these players come out 5 minutes later, while you watch some sports like basketball and these guys are falling over every other play. I think the case can be made that some sports can just be exciting on their own, but for some reason I find the NHL playoffs to be the most exciting of the four. And this could just be because I'm a really big hockey fan, but I think if you ask anyone to sit down and watch a playoff game between the best teams, you would be really dumbfounded to find a sport that's better than hockey. And it depends on your preference, obviously, so this isn't just like some etched in gold rule, but personally I think that the NHL playoffs, the structure, the way that they conduct themselves with the storylines, with the best players and worst players, they just break out at the most random times. You could have a guy that completely underperformed all year, but let me give an example again with the Florida Panthers. Brandon Montour, a guy who wasn't bad all season, but he was no star. This guy comes out in the first round and pots 5 goals at the defenseman. The best goalie in the league, Linus Ullmark, falls off completely in the playoffs. Even though he was injured, the whole team just crumbles. And that's what's most exciting about the playoffs. The storylines are the best in the NHL. The matchups, no matter who you pin against each other, they'll be high-flying, physical, and fast-paced, which is just so exciting when you're watching playoff environment sports. So what do you guys think? What's the best playoff sport? Is it the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, or the NHL? I want to know your opinion, so drop it in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'll see you guys in the next one.